Hey guys, Brent Hull Build Show here in Shirley, Mass with my old North Bennett Street instructor, Robert Adam.
Old, huh?
Very old. Come join us today on the Build Show. Okay, so we are in Shirley, Mass, which is outside of Boston.
40 miles.
40 miles. And so Robert he used to live in that house, and then we built that barn when we were students here, and he talked about this thing, this compound, the village he's built here, but he's got all these historic buildings, great historic character. I'd come and look at this stuff, okay, the building here, look at the windows, look at the siding, look at this gambrel roof, and I think there is so much great opportunity for us to build today, for us to build beautiful things if we look to the past. So this is who I learned it from. Robert, tell us a little bit about this house, and let's just keep it to this house and talk about it. Oh, and by the way, this is my son Jackson, who I think you know from the podcast, Passion for Craft. He's here. We're actually doing some podcasts. One of the podcasts we just did was with Robert talking about, kind of how he got here. So big introduction. Robert, tell us about this house.
So this house is a house that we moved from about 5 miles south of here. And we took the roof off of it when we moved it. We took it right down to the plate line so that we didn't have to cut any trees and so forth. We built a foundation for it. I wasn't sure whether the building was square. And so when we built the foundation, we put in a 12-inch foundation because I knew I was going to put granite on top of it. This is all, the granite capstones are all the ones that were there from the building that we moved.
So one thing you guys can't see, but we'll get it on the B-roll, is that underneath this is a very modern basement. Concrete walls, foundation, and then what he's done is on the back side he built his new house, which isn't drafty. Actually, 15 years ago, Joe Stiebrick, he bought his book, and so he built a very contemporary build science-y house, okay, and he shields it from the historic part of town with this historic building here, which is a great idea. But when was this built?
We don't know exactly, but we think it is around, it's either 10 years before or 10 years after, around the turn of the 19th century. So 1790, maybe as late as 1810.
Okay, so, and it's a gambrel roof, which is not common, is what you're saying?
Well, the Shakers built a lot of buildings with gambrel roofs, but for some reason in the late 19th century, in the 1870s, they changed them all back to pitched roofs. And in Harvard, the next community, there are 3 examples of that.
So Shakers,
but this is the only one that survives.
Was a religious group, okay, and you really should do some deep dives into Shakers if you don't know who the Shakers are. But Shaker furniture, and we'll go inside because it's laid out as a typical Shaker house, very simple, very clean, very austere, but their stuff was the best, right? I mean, they were.
Yes, but this was not a dwelling. This was they lived in more dormitories, men on one side, women on the other side. So
what would this have been used for?
Well, this was used for the left-hand side was the office, and the right-hand side was a cooper shop, and that's why when you looked at the floor is actually a 2-inch thick floor. And it was pinned down to the joists and so forth. And the rooms upstairs, they too were workshop rooms. So in fact, in the further room over there were some mortises in the beams where we think there was a loom.
Oh, interesting.
So this was something that was, again, not a dwelling.
Let's go up close. I want to look at the windows, and then we'll go inside and check this thing out. So, I love talking about windows. We got the 100-year window. This is a very early window, 1-inch thick sash, right? 1.25 mutton bar.
An inch, a full inch.
Okay, not double hung.
No, single hung.
Single hung. So you'll see this notch right there. In the frame, right, they always set that top sash and only the bottom sash would move, but it wasn't counterbalanced. Is that true?
You would either put a stick under it or there would be, these windows had push buttons on the side that would notch into the window when you'd put it up. So you could put it up that high or that high and that sort of thing. What is interesting about these these are mortise and tenon frames. They're all pinned together and so forth, but they're flush. Usually they stick way out.
Right.
When they're just put
Talking
on.
about the actual frame of the window, you can see it's pegged right here, but normally these kicked out.
Normally they kick out because they're 3x4 sections, but these have been cut out so that they fit closer back to the.
Why would they have done that? We don't know.
Don't know.
Isn't that interesting?
Don't know. The siding varies. This is not typical New England siding. This is more New York siding, because the sort of mother church of the Shakers was in New York, in Mount Lebanon.
So let's talk real quick before we go inside about this slate roof.
Okay.
You've got a graduated slate roof, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is that the face of these slate changes as the side goes up. Now, I always heard that the reason they did that was to create this visual height or something like that, but you've actually said the reason is because why?
The reason is that if you bought slate, and this slate is from a local quarry, you bought a block of slate and then it got split up, and you would have larger slates, and what was left of the block ended up being smaller slates.
So it was a cost efficiency thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
Interesting.
Sure, and the reason why we see slates, well, for example, on that roof over there, those are all regular slates. Those are Vermont slates, and they made so many of them that they could all make them the same size, or catalog them as the same size. They would still be smaller ones like this.
Where did this slate come from?
This came from the next town, from Harvard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
So it's all local.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
And this is a second generation. They originally had a wood shingle roof on it.
All right, so we're gonna go inside. I want to show you this amazing door that's on the front of this thing. It's cool. So I guess one of the reasons that I geek out and love historic spaces is because the subtle uniqueness of it, okay? And just seeing this plank door that Jackson's standing behind, which is made up of 2 boards, the simple lift handle.
How wide that board is.
It's so wide.
Yeah.
It's so wide. And you look at the floorboards and how wide these floorboards are. The fact that they painted the base on as opposed to doing a base molding. The doors are 1 inch thick. This wall, okay, that you go up is just a plank board that's tongue and grooved together. That is the separation between these deals. Probably that wall may be the same.
It is.
But those things are, you're around it all the time. I don't get to see this, and so, but you're seeing some of the shaker. This kind of shaker board with the pegs would be how they would have hung chairs and hung things up, and so it's very practical the way they lived. But I just see this space, the colors. I just love it.
Let me tell you about the door. This other door.
Front door, yeah.
This door is a plank door as well. These are sandwich doors, so there's 2 thicknesses of things, and it really creates a weather seal here. The rabbit there. But this door across the street from this house was a tavern, a brick tavern that the Shakers owned. And when they were closing in 1906, they moved this building up to be the caretaker's cottage for the tavern. Yeah. This actually was the front of the building when they reoriented it. So in other words, the real front door, which is that one, ended up being the back door, or back door going onto a porch. And what they had done here was they had built a window bay there. So there was no door here. So before I got interested in the house, before it was offered to me, there was a barn across the street at the Brick Tavern. And there was a developer who was supposedly restoring the Brick Tavern and threw out all the historic stuff and kept all the Victorian stuff. This was in the barn, and I noticed on the back, saw these strap hinges, and I thought, that's kind of interesting. Right. And looked at the door and so forth, and I thought, well, I'm not going to leave this here to be burned. Yeah. And so I appropriated it.
You saved it.
And I put it on the back of my shop. I had it there for years. I never took the paint off the inside of it though. I kept looking at the paint that was here, the old paint. And I said, I've seen that someplace before. Where have I seen that? And then I realized I'm in the shop. There it is. It's the door.
So this door was originally this door?
I pulled the pintles out, brought it back here,
Drops
put it
right
in, like it never left.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just love all the details in here. This is why I love historic buildings, and just all the things that I could sit there and list and name as far as the hardware, the trim, the scale of this thing, the type of glass. I mean, just blah, 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 blah. It's just so much interesting, fascinating things that give this house so much character. It's why I love it and wanted to come see it. Be sure to follow us. Check out the podcast with Robert in it, Passion for Craft, episode 80 something.
82, 81.
Yeah, 82. We'll have him on there. You can learn kind of about how I was trained and how all that went. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brent Hull. Thanks for watching.